A widowed mechanic, a garage reeking of motor oil and sea salt, a rich girl trapped inside a perfect brace. What Teo discovered that ordinary afternoon near the port wasn't just unusual pain. It was proof that someone had been calling suffering adaptation. It was a calculated plan to protect a billion-dollar system. Blame the patient's body, never the design. A plan that would have worked if he hadn't asked the one question no specialist dared to ask. This is the story of how one short sentence changed 3 lives forever. There are moments when a simple question can shatter years of silence. A father kneeling beside a stranger's daughter in a garage that smells of motor oil and sea salt, asking something no specialist dared to ask. Does this hurt you when you breathe? And in that instant, 2 worlds collide. On one side, Mateo Teo Ribeiro, 41, mechanic, widower, father of 2, working 12-hour shifts in a converted garage 3 blocks from the Tampa port, hands scarred by brake fluid and radiator burns. A man who fixes what others discard. On the other side, Clara Duvall, 19, daughter of real estate magnates, living in a beachfront penthouse in Clearwater Beach, unable to walk without pain since a car accident 18 months ago. A $47,000 custom orthopedic brace strapped to her left leg, designed by engineers in Switzerland, approved by the FDA, adjusted by 5 different orthopedists, and completely, devastatingly wrong. What happened next would divide a community, challenge a billion-dollar industry, and prove that sometimes the solution to an impossible problem doesn't require credentials. It requires someone willing to try one more time. But why would a man with no medical training risk everything? His reputation, his family stability, his freedom to help someone he barely knew. And how did a device that cost more than his annual salary become the symbol of everything broken in a system that values protocol over people? Before we answer that, we need to go back to the promise, 6 years earlier. Tampa Regional Hospital, Intensive Care Unit, 3:47 a.m. Teo sits in a plastic chair, watching monitors beep beside his wife's bed. Marina had been a nurse at the same hospital, 17 years together, 2 kids at home with his mother. A drunk driver, a red light, 14 seconds that erased a future. The neurologist enters with the scan results. Teo already knows from his face. There's nothing more we can do, the doctor says, not unkindly. The damage is too extensive. Teo nods. He's heard this phrase before, in this building, about other people. But now it's about Marina. He holds her hand, still warm, still soft, and whispers something only she would understand. I promise. I'll never stop trying. For them. For anyone who needs it, I promise. She dies at sunrise. The funeral is small. Teo's boss at the auto shop gives him 2 weeks off. His mother moves in to help with Lucas, 8, and Sophia, 5. For 3 months, Teo works in silence, changes oil, rotates tires, replaces brake pads. He doesn't talk much, doesn't eat much, but he starts doing something strange. When customers mention a medical problem, a bad knee, a painful back, a device that doesn't work right, Teo asks questions. Lots of questions. How does it feel? When does it hurt? What have you tried? His coworkers laugh. Teo thinks he's a doctor now. He isn't, but he's trying to keep a promise to a woman who isn't there to hear it. And sometimes, just sometimes, he notices things. Like when Mrs. Acosta mentions her walker is making her hip worse, and Teo realizes the height adjustment is 2 inches off. He fixes it in 5 minutes with a wrench and electrical tape. Or when Mr. Chun's prosthetic foot keeps blistering his stump, and Teo notices the angle is wrong. He calls the manufacturer. They ignore him. So he files down the contact point himself, gently, over 4 evenings until it fits. Small things. Things that don't make headlines. Things that keep a promise alive. Clearwater Beach. 7 miles and an entire universe away. The Duvall family owns half the waterfront condos you see from the sand. yacht in the marina, Tesla in every garage. Wealth that insulates but never protects. Richard Duvall, 53, made his fortune in commercial real estate after the 2008 crash. He's a man who solves problems with phone calls and checkbooks. Until January 14th, when his only daughter's car is T-boned by a delivery truck running a stop sign. Clara survives, barely. Fractured femur, shattered knee, nerve damage in her lower left leg, 7 surgeries, 18 months of recovery, and pain, constant, grinding, burning pain. Richard hires the best, orthopedic surgeons from Johns Hopkins, physical therapists from Olympic training centers, a custom brace designed by Medform Systems, the industry leader in biomechanical supports, $47,000, crafted in Zurich, fitted in Miami. The brace is beautiful. Carbon fiber frame, titanium joints, microprocessor-controlled compression zones. It should work. It doesn't. Clara wears it for 3 hours before screaming for her father to take it off. It feels like it's crushing me, Dad. Please. They go back to the specialist. He adjusts the compression, adds padding, reduces the tension. Better. But not right. Clara tries again. And again. Each time, the same result. Pain in new places. Bruising. Numbness. Muscle spasms that wake her at 2 a.m. Give it time, the doctors say. Your body needs to adapt. 3 months pass. Clara adapts to nothing. She stops leaving the house. Stops going to physical therapy. Stops believing she'll ever walk normally again. Richard Duvall, the man who built an empire by never accepting no ... has no idea what to do. One evening, Clara sits on the balcony watching the sunset over the Gulf. The brace leans against the wall, untouched. Her mother, Diane, joins her with tea. Maybe we should get a second opinion, Diane suggests. Mom? Clara's voice is flat. We've seen 8 specialists. They all say the same thing. The brace is perfect. The problem is me. I just want to walk without feeling like I'm being punished for surviving. Diane has no answer. Below, on the street, a car backfires. The sound echoes off the buildings. Somewhere across town, in a garage with a flickering fluorescent light, a man is working late on a transmission repair, unaware that in 3 weeks, a broken taillight will bring these two worlds together. It happens on a Tuesday. Clara's Tesla, controlled by her father, monitored by their insurance, has a brake warning light. Nothing serious, but Richard insists she get it checked immediately. The dealer is booked for 2 weeks. Their regular mechanic is on vacation. Diane finds a shop online. Ribeiro Auto Repair, honest service, fair prices. 4.9 stars. 3 blocks from the port. Clara protests. Mom, it's fine. I can wait. But Diane is tired of waiting. Tired of watching her daughter disappear into her room. We're going. It'll take 20 minutes. The shop is smaller than Clara expected. 2 bays, oil-stained concrete floor, a radio playing classic rock, the smell of gasoline and old coffee. Teo emerges from under a Honda Civic, wiping his hands on a rag. He's shorter than Clara imagined from the reviews. Graying hair, kind eyes, a scar across his left forearm. Tesla brake light? He asks. Diane nods. How long will it take? 15 minutes to scan. Probably just a sensor. Clara waits in the small lobby, 3 plastic chairs, a water cooler, a stack of year-old magazines. Through the window, she watches Teo plug a diagnostic tool into the car's port. Then she shifts in her seat ... and winces. The brace. Always the brace. She's wearing it today because her mother insisted. You need to build tolerance, Diane had said. But it's been 2 hours, and the pressure under her knee feels like a clamp tightening with every breath. Teo returns with a printout. Sensor malfunction. I can replace it, Or you can take this to the dealer and they'll do it under warranty. How much to replace it here? Diane asks. $45 for the part, $20 for labor. Do it. While Teo works, Clara shifts again. Her jaw tightens. Teo notices. He doesn't say anything. Just watches for a second. The way he watches when an engine sounds wrong, but the diagnostics say it's fine. Something's off. 20 minutes later, the car is ready. As Clara stands to leave, she stumbles slightly, catches herself on the doorframe, and Teo hears it, a faint click from her left leg, metal on metal, barely audible over the radio. "Excuse me," he says quietly. "I don't mean to pry, but are you wearing a medical brace?" Clara freezes. "Why?" "I heard something, a sound." He hesitates. "Does it hurt when you breathe deeply?" Clara stares at him. "What?" "Your brace. When you take a deep breath, does it press on your ribs?" Diane steps forward, protective. She's been seeing specialists for over a year. "The brace was custom-made." "I'm sure it was," Teo says. Sometimes when something's designed perfectly on paper, it doesn't account for how a body actually moves." Clara looks at her mother, then back at Teo. "It presses on my ribs," she whispers. "All the time, especially when I breathe." Teo shouldn't offer. He knows this. But he hears Marina's voice. "Try. Just try." "Would you mind if I took a look?" he asks. No charge. No obligation. Just 5 minutes. "I'm not a doctor, I can't diagnose anything, but I know mechanical systems. And sometimes I can hear when something's interfering where it shouldn't." Diane's instinct is to refuse. This man is a mechanic. Clara's been treated by orthopedic surgeons, but Clara surprises her. Okay, they move to the workspace. Teo clears a bench, lays down a clean towel. Clara sits, rolls up her pant leg. The brace is impressive, sleek, high-tech, intimidating. Teo studies it silently, doesn't touch yet, just looks. "This connects here," he murmurs, pointing to a joint near her knee. "And the compression band runs up to the thigh." He asks permission, then gently presses on the upper compression band. Clara flinches. "There," she says. "That's where it digs in." Teo measures with his eyes. "Okay, so this band, it's supposed to keep your legs stable when you move, right?" "That's what they said. But when you sit, your thigh expands. And when you breathe, your torso shifts. So this rigid band is creating a mechanical interference point. It's fighting your natural movement." He traces where the pressure concentrates. "That's not a medical issue. That's a fit issue." Clara's eyes widen. "The pain I feel in my side, they said it was muscle tension." "Could be. Or it could be this interference point radiating pressure." He pauses. "Did anyone have you wear this for a full day during fitting? Sitting in a car? Eating at a table?" Clara shakes her head. "They had me stand and walk." "That's it." Teo exhales slowly. "Then they tested it for movement." "But designed it for life," Diane interrupts. "Her doctors adjusted it 4 times. "I'm sure they did," Teo says carefully. "But adjustments usually mean tightness. This is about geometry, where the forces actually land on her body when she's doing normal things." He stands back. "Look, I could be completely wrong. But if I'm right, this brace isn't broken. The engineering is probably perfect. It's just not accounting for how she actually lives in it. Can you fix it?" Clara asks. Teo looks at the device. At the titanium joints and microprocessor housing. This isn't a car. This is a human body. A life. If he's wrong, he could make everything worse. If he does nothing ... she keeps suffering. "I can try," he says. 3 days later, Clara returns. Teo has prepared a foam buffer soft enough to cushion, firm enough to redistribute pressure without shifting the brace's alignment. This should reduce the contact pressure at that interference point, he explains. It won't affect the structural support, The modification takes 20 minutes. Clara straps the brace on, stands, takes a step. Different, she says. Not bad. She walks, sits, stands again. Then she takes a deep breath and screams. The foam has shifted under pressure. Instead of distributing force, it's concentrated into a single burning point on her thigh. She rips the brace off, gasping. There's a red mark on her leg, angry, deep. Diane rushes to her side. What did you do? I'm sorry, Teo stammers. I thought, she's not a machine. Diane's voice rises. You have no idea what you're doing. Clara is crying now, not from pain, from hope shattered again. I should never have come here, she whispers. They leave without another word. Teo stands alone in the garage, staring at the discarded foam on the floor. He failed. That night, his daughter Sophia finds him sitting in the dark. Popeye, are you okay? He looks at her. 8 years old now. Marina's eyes. I tried to help someone today, he says quietly, and I hurt them instead. Sophia climbs into his lap. Did you mean to hurt them? No. Then you have to try again. What if I make it worse? Sophia thinks for a moment. Mommy used to say trying and failing is better than not trying, because not trying is giving up. Teo closes his eyes. I promise. I'll never stop trying. The next morning, there's a voicemail. Clara's voice. Quiet, shaky. Mr. Ribeiro, I'm sorry my mom yelled. She's just protective. The truth is, even with the pain yesterday, for about 10 seconds before the foam shifted, it felt better than it has in months. Not perfect, but better. A pause. So if you're willing, I'd like to try again. For the second attempt, Teo focuses on the angle itself. He's convinced the upper band is positioned too far forward, creating that interference point during hip movement. Using a heat gun and careful pressure, he adjusts the mounting bracket just 7 degrees. If it works, he warns, Medform can replicate it professionally. Clara nods. I trust you. The adjustment takes 2 hours. Finally, Clara puts the brace on, walks, sits, breathes. The pressure's gone, she says cautiously. Teo exhales. Good, let's. Then Clara tries to stand, and her knee buckles. The modified bracket weakened the structural support. The joint that stabilizes her kneecap is now too loose. Clara collapses, catches herself on the bench. Her knee hyperextends enough to send shock through her leg. I'm okay, Clara says, but her face is pale. The brace is now worse. Less painful, but too unstable to walk in. That evening, Richard Duvall calls Medform Systems. My daughter's device was tampered with by an unlicensed individual, he says. What are our options? Within 48 hours, a cease and desist letter arrives at Teo's shop. Any further modifications to Medform devices by non-certified technicians constitute product tampering, void all warranties and safety certifications, and expose you to potential liability for medical harm. Cease all contact with Clara Duvall immediately. Teo reads it 3 times. He sits in his office and feels the walls closing in. He's not a doctor, not an engineer. What was he thinking? Then he sees a text. From Clara. Please don't give up on me. Teo doesn't respond. For 3 days, he works in silence. Then, on Thursday night, something breaks. Lucas, his son, is struggling with a school project building a model bridge from popsicle sticks. It keeps collapsing, Lucas says, frustrated. Teo looks at it. The problem isn't the instructions. You're trying to support everything from the middle. Bridges don't work that way. Distribute the load to the edges first. Lucas rebuilds it. The bridge holds, and Teo realizes something. He's been trying to fix the wrong thing. The brace stabilizes Clara's knee perfectly, but in doing so, it locks her hip into a fixed position, creating stress through her entire kinematic chain. It's like fixing a transmission while ignoring a misaligned axle. The solution isn't to modify the brace's compression or angle. It's to give it rotational freedom. Teo calls Miguel Santos, a physical therapist. If a knee brace is causing hip pain, what would you check first? Hip rotation, Miguel says. If the brace locks the knee rigid but the patient's natural gait has slight rotation, you're fighting their body's biomechanics with every step. How do you fix that? You add a pivot point at the hip mount. Allow 3 to 5 degrees of rotation. What if there's no hip mount? Then you're building from scratch. That night, Teo works until 4 a.m. By dawn, he has a plan. He texts Clara, "I think I know what's wrong. But this is the last chance." She replies instantly, "One more try." Sunday morning. The shop is closed. Clara arrives alone. "If this goes wrong," Teo says, "promise me you'll see a real specialist." "You're someone who listens," Clara says quietly. Teo has spent $340 on parts, a custom pivot joint, medical-grade elastic straps, a carbon fiber plate. His plan: install a rotational mount at the hip attachment point, allowing 3 degrees of natural movement while the brace continues stabilizing her knee. One mistake and the entire brace becomes unusable. Before he begins, he writes down one rule in bold on a notepad and shows it to Clara. No promises, no guarantees. Stop at the first sign of harm. She nods. He works slowly. Measures twice. Drills once. The only sound is his breathing and the drill. First, he removes the rigid upper strap. Then installs the pivot mount, a small mechanism engineered to handle 80 pounds of lateral force. Next, the elastic stabilizers. They'll hold Clara's hip during standing but allow rotation during sitting and walking. Finally, he tests the range. 3 degrees left. 3 right. Perfect. His hands are shaking. "Okay," he says. "Let's try." Clara straps the brace on. She stands. Takes 1 step. "How does it feel?" "I don't know yet." 2 more steps. Then 3. Clara stops. Closes her eyes. Takes a deep breath. No pressure on her ribs. She sits. Stands. Sits again. No pain in her thigh. Teo ... double quotes, her voice cracks. "I think this is working." Walk around the shop. 5 minutes. Clara walks. She circles the garage. Pauses. Shifts her weight. Tests the limits. After 5 minutes, she stops. It still works. "Sit for 10 minutes." She sits. They wait in silence. Teo counts every second. At the 9-minute mark, Clara shifts. "What's wrong?" Clara looks up. Her eyes are wet. "Nothing's wrong," she whispers, for the first time in 18 months. "Nothing hurts." She starts to cry. From relief so overwhelming it feels like breaking, Clara stands. Walks again, faster. "I can feel my leg. I can feel the ground." She walks to the door, stops, turns, and runs. Not fast, not gracefully, but she runs. 3 steps, 4, 5. Then she stops, gasping, laughing, crying. "I'm running." Clara rushes to Teo and hugs him. Teo freezes. Doesn't know what to do? "Thank you," she whispers. "Thank you for not giving up." When she lets go, she asks, "What do I owe you?" "Nothing." "Teo, nothing," he repeats. "Just promise you'll get this checked by a doctor. Make sure I didn't miss something." "I promise." Clara posts a video that evening. Just her, phone propped on a dresser, talking. 18 months ago, I lost the ability to walk without pain. I saw 8 specialists. Spent $47,000 on a brace that didn't work. Yesterday, a mechanic fixed it in his garage. She shows footage of herself walking, running. His name is Mateo Ribeiro. He's not a doctor. He's a mechanic who refused to stop trying when everyone else gave up. The caption: "Sometimes the people who heal us aren't the ones with credentials. They're the ones with compassion." Within 48 hours, 2.3 million views. Comments flood in. This is what healthcare should be. How is a mechanic better than surgeons? Can he help me? My brace is killing me too. And that last comment, repeated hundreds of times, is what triggers the avalanche. People start calling Teo's shop patients with knee braces, hip braces, back supports, all asking the same thing. Can you look at mine? Teo refuses every single one. I'm not a medical professional, he tells them. I can't help you. Please see a certified specialist, but the calls keep coming. And that's when the Florida Board of Medicine takes notice. The inquiry letter arrives on a Wednesday. It has come to our attention that you may be engaging in activities that constitute the unlicensed practice of medicine or medical device modification. While we understand no formal claims of patient harm have been filed, the volume of inquiries suggesting you are holding yourself out as capable of providing orthopedic services warrants investigation. Medform Systems issues a statement. We are deeply concerned about unauthorized modifications to our devices. Such modifications void safety certifications and put patients at risk. We must also note that if this modification were to be replicated without proper testing and oversight, Medform could face liability even though the modification was not of our making. They weren't arguing Clara felt better. They were arguing they'd be liable if anyone copied it. Local news runs a segment, Miracle or Malpractice. Viral video sparks debate over medical device safety. The comments section becomes a battlefield. Some defend Teo. He helped her when no one else could. Others condemn him. He's not licensed. This is dangerous. Within a week, Teo receives a letter from a personal injury law firm offering pro bono representation. We believe you may have grounds for whistleblower protection. Medform's devices may have systemic design flaws that prioritize cost efficiency over patient biomechanics. Teo doesn't want to be a whistleblower. He just wanted to keep a promise. Then he gets a call that changes everything. Mr. Ribeiro? I'm Dr. Evelyn Cortez, orthopedic engineer at Johns Hopkins. I'd like to talk about what you did. Dr. Cortez flies to Tampa 3 days later. 60s. Gray hair pulled back, sharp eyes. She's furious, not at Teo, at her industry. They meet at the shop. Teo shows her the modified brace. Dr. Cortez examines the pivot mount, tests the motion, measures angles. Finally, she looks up. This is brilliant. Teo blinks. What? You identified a fundamental flaw in rigid stabilization design. Most braces prioritize structural integrity over biomechanical harmony. They lock joints into ideal positions without accounting for natural movement variation. She points to the mount. This solves that. Controlled rotation with load-bearing stability. So ... I didn't mess up? Dr. Cortez smiles. You did what we should have done years ago. You listened to the patient instead of the protocol. She makes a proposal. I want to bring Clara to Hopkins. Run a full gait analysis with proper lab equipment. Document how this modification affects her movement patterns. If the data supports what I'm seeing, I'll co-author a paper with you. And I'll testify on your behalf if Medform or the board pursues action. Teo stares. You do that? If our devices fail because we prioritized engineering elegance over patient experience, we need to fix that. You've shown us how. 2 weeks later, the analysis is complete. At Hopkins, they use the standard 0 to 10 pain scale and gait lab baselines. Clara's pain dropped from a 9 to a 1. Her gait symmetry markers the measurements that show how evenly she distributes. Weight and movement finally stopped screaming compensation. Her hip rotation fell within normal physiological range for the first time since the accident. Dr. Cortez presents the findings to a review panel at Hopkins. The panel agrees. Teo's modification represents a significant advancement in adaptive orthotic design. But there's a legal problem. Teo isn't licensed to practice medicine or engineering. He can't manufacture or distribute medical devices. What if we partnered? Dr. Cortez suggests. You consult on patient feedback and mechanical problem solving. I handle the engineering certification and clinical trials. We bring this to market the right way, tested, documented, approved. Teo hesitates. I don't want to profit from Clara's pain. Then don't, but there are thousands of people wearing braces that don't fit right. You could help them. Isn't that what you promised? 14 months later. Ribeiro Auto Repair is still open. Still 3 blocks from the port, but twice a week, Teo consults remotely with Dr. Cortez's team at Hopkins. They're developing a new line of adaptive orthotic devices braces with built-in rotational mounts and patient-adjustable compression zones. The first prototype launches in 6 months. Clara is walking without pain. Back in college, studying biomedical engineering. I want to design devices that actually fit people, she tells Teo over coffee. Devices that listen. Richard Duvall apologized, quietly, privately. He donated $100,000 to a fund supporting low-income patients who need orthotic modifications but can't afford multiple specialist visits. Medform Systems never sued. The Hopkins data proved their standard design had a gap. It worked for controlled clinical settings but failed to account for real-world biomechanical variation. Instead, they quietly reached a settlement, funding for Teo's consulting work and the Hopkins research, in exchange for his agreement not to publicly discuss their initial legal threats. Teo took the deal, not for himself. For the patients who would benefit from better designed devices. One evening, Sophia asks her father, "Did you keep your promise to Mom?" Teo thinks about Marina. About the vow he made in a hospital room 6 years ago. He thinks about Clara and the 12 other patients whose cases he's helped Dr. Cortez's team analyze since then. "I'm trying," he says. Sophia smiles. That's what she would have wanted. The truth is, most miracles aren't miracles at all. They're just people who refuse to stop trying. People who listen when systems stop listening. People who see pain that numbers can't measure. Because in the end, compassion doesn't require credentials. It requires courage. The courage to try one more time. If this story moved you, there are thousands more waiting. Real people overcoming impossible odds. Subscribe to see what happens when someone refuses to accept it can't be done. And maybe, just maybe, you'll find the courage to try one more time yourself.